we are privileged to share some thoughts about the meaning of the Club of Rome's mission and action with two very distinguished personalities. Both have outstanding scientific background and experience, but also an impressive record of action on the field. They are people of conviction, high ethical standards, and remarkable commitment in their professional life.
Despite all this enthusiasm for growth, the fact cannot be denied that under today's consumption rates, we are running into disaster. If everybody reaches American kind of lifestyles, and that's what they all want, we need 5 planets Earth, but we've got only 1. What then? What's the new message if the old one is not so popular? Well, I suppose the only realistic answer is decoupling. We have reached decoupling. I spoke about that in the context of environmental policy, the so-called environmental Kuznets curve. So it ends up rich and clean, which is fabulous. But how about climate? Connie Hedegaard knows that. So far, there is a strict correlation between GDP and CO2 intensity. Look at this curve. And more or less the same is for material intensity. The richer, the more turnover of materials. So, what we better try to do is a Kuznets curve of decarbonization, and then assist developing countries tunneling through, because if they first go into the dirty hill, it will be too late for most of our climate problems. And the same with dematerialization, also tunneling through. A 5-fold increase of resource productivity would allow high prosperity with small footprints. And then our 1 planet Earth would suffice. And that's essentially the message of Factor 5. But that's nothing less than the ambition of creating a green Kondratiev cycle, meaning a technologically led growth cycle. But after 5 brown cycles, which made it worse for the environment, the first one giving relief to the environment. Now the question is a 5-fold increase of resource productivity realistic? Well, I cannot give any public speech without asking this question from physics. Imagine Mount Everest, 8,800 meters. And now you have a 10 kilograms weight, a rucksack or a bucket of water. How many kilowatt hours would you need to lift that to the top of Mount Everest? Your Royal Highness, would you know? Not necessarily. Look, when I asked my students in California, they would say 10,000 kilowatt hours, or 1,000 at least. Okay, the answer is 1/4 of a kilowatt hour. It's a huge surprise. But it's this elementary physics. You can really calculate it through. Meaning that our imagination of what a kilowatt hour can do is wrong by a factor of 1,000. So I'm not asking for a 1,000-fold increase of resource productivity. I'm only asking for a factor of 5, so I'm a very modest man. But I wanted to have this in your minds in order to understand that it is not a matter of physics that prevents us from becoming 5 times better. Decoupling is technically possible, but it does not happen because it's not really profitable. The returns on investment figures are poor compared to laying off workers. So we have a lot of unemployment and little improvement on resource productivity. The reason is simple. Resources got cheaper over 200 years. Prices don't tell the truth. The decades of explosive energy and material growth were the decades of rapidly falling commodity prices. And America is dreaming again of an age of cheap energy and inviting all Europeans to do the same crazy things. While we keep wasting resources, unemployment is rising. Stupid, says EU Commissioner Janez Potočnik. We must shift emphasis from labor productivity to resource productivity, and right he is. There's something profoundly wrong with our economy. It leads to wasting resources and make millions jobless. And the young are getting angry at the Wall Street logic. As the club is engaging in a major decoupling project, it will also have to include profound analysis of economics and its fallacies. So, brings me to the end. Outside the academic economics question, we shall also address the challenges of long-term perspectives, making prices tell the truth, a coalition of the willing on climate, not only, rebalancing public and private goods, and engage the young generation. The decoupling project will have a time horizon of some 50, perhaps 100 years. On making prices tell the truth, I'm tired of waiting until economists agree on externalities and politicians agree on internalizing those. They are discussing about that since 40 years and nothing is happening. I am proposing instead, actually developed in the China Council for China, the idea of artificially increasing resource prices, particularly energy prices, in parallel with documented efficiency gains, so that the average monthly payments for energy services, etc., remain constant. The Chinese love that idea. All I've said can be summarized as reinventing the Club of Rome, but it's not a top-to-bottom process. It's not that I am having a blueprint kind of thing. No. The co-presidents and secretary-general can only catalyze and support the new movements from below. We hope it will be as rebellious and responsible as Aurelio Pacelli has been at his time. And I am very much excited, delighted, meeting the young people who are really behind that new agenda. And maybe some of you people in the audience feel also motivated to join. Thank you.
Your Royal Highness, Excellencies, honorable guests and friends, dear Professor Temmerman, or should I say dear Mama Daktari, let me tell you why we, at the Club of Rome EU chapter, wish to nominate her for honorary membership. It is because she is sharing values and opinions common within the Club of Rome. A holistic view of the world, not a fragmented vision of life on earth. Awe and wonder for the beauty of human life and for the planet Earth. Indignation and revolt against inequality, injustice, poverty, suffering, violence, pollution, and depletion of nature. And commitment, responsibility in her jobs and in society at large. Reach the moon, then you will probably catch a star, said your mother, I heard. It's obvious that our guest of honor has already called many stars and that this distinction will not be the last one. Professor Temmerman, Marleen, please.
Your Royal Highness, Commissioner, Minister of State, Minister of Education, Permanent Secretary of the Royal Flemish Academy, Excellencies, dear colleagues and members of the Club of Rome, Professor De Bruhl, thank you so much for this long laudatio, very well taken, thank you. Dear colleagues, friends, dear family. I'm very honored and pleased and very grateful to receive this honorary membership award of the Club of Rome, at the hands of the Royal Highness. Thank you so much. And to join this prestigious organization that is now 45 years old and more necessary than ever. I will just give you some citations that are not recent, because even Aristotle, philosopher very well known from before Christ, he said one would have thought that it was more necessary to limit population than property. The neglect of this subject, which is existing in existing states, is so common, is a never-failing cause of poverty among citizens. And poverty is the parent of both revolution and crime. Albert Einstein, overpopulation in various countries has become a serious threat to the health of people and a grave obstacle to any attempt to organize peace on this planet. Even from other sectors, Sam Levinson said, somewhere on this globe, every 10 seconds there is a woman giving birth to the child. She must be found and stopped. As a gynecologist, I don't fully agree on that. We also have to make our living, but he has a point. The father of the Green Revolution also at that moment already was pleading for human reproduction that must be curbed. Otherwise, the success of the Green Revolution will be ephemeral only. Most people still fail to comprehend the magnitude and the menace of what he called, not very friendly, the population monster. We can go on. Even the Pope, Paul VI, said there is no denying that the accelerated rate of population growth brings many added difficulties to the problem of development, where the size of the population grows more rapidly than the quantity of the available resources. So also religious leaders are aware and are concerned. In such circumstances, people are inclined to apply drastic remedies to reduce the birth rate. And there is no doubt that public authorities can intervene in the matter within the bounds of their competence. They can instruct citizens on this subject and adopt appropriate measures so long, and that is important of course, from the religious point of view, so long as these are in conformity with the dictates of the moral law and the rightful freedom of married couples is preserved completely intact. Environmentalists, those who fail to see that population growth and climate change are two sides of the same coin, are either ignorant or hiding from the truth. These two huge environmental problems are inseparable. And to discuss one while ignoring the other is irrational. The Undersecretary General, UN, said family planning, and there it's more concrete and specific, family planning could bring more benefits to more people at less cost than any other single technology now available to the human race. And that has been again emphasized over and over again. The very well-known Sir David Attenborough also said the human population can no longer be allowed to grow in the same old, uncontrolled way. If we do not take charge of our population size, nature will do for us. And he continues, as I see it, humanity needs to reduce its impact on the earth urgently. And there are 3 ways to achieve this. And basically, you can summarize my presentation in those 3 concepts. 1, we can stop consuming so many resources, has been also addressed by the previous speaker. We can change our technology, and that was decoupling, part of it. And we can reduce the growth of our population. And I think also this should be taken into the equation. In the different population conferences and in the Rio conference, we hear about the resources management, but the growth of the population and overpopulation is hardly mentioned and is not, or insufficiently, in my view, taken into the balance. Governments, policymakers, scientists, and civil society organizations will have to work together and to find ways, together with the Club of Rome, I hope, to slow down the population growth while fully respecting democracy, human rights, and cultural integrity. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope I convinced you that there is a problem in this Earth, that we need 5 Earths, maybe, and there is a problem with global warming. And for those who are not convinced yet, maybe my last slide will make it clear that the Earth is warming. Thank you.